So after years of waiting and speculations, Valve finally decided to unveil the Steam Frame, their new generation hybrid PCVR standalone headset running on SteamOS. So here we are, talking about it. Hey, Ty here, so welcome to the VR Tech channel. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make a video about it, as many people are actually talking about all this Valve stuff right now, but I saw a lot of confusion online and a lot of misconceptions of what this headset is trying to achieve. So yeah, if it's valuable for you, this is a spin from a person that tried pretty much every single headset on the market till today, and go through together a conversation about what this thing is actually offering, why they went in some direction, and why I understand that in some places is actually underwhelming. Of course, if it's your first time hearing about it, but I doubt it, there's many videos online, like the deep dive from Tested that I really recommend. But if you care about a random opinion on the internet, well, here we are. I watched hours of content on that, so let's get into it. Okay, so let's start saying that there's no way Valve could reach the expectations that this Steam Frame, aka Valve Deckard, actually created during the year. So we're waiting 5 years for this thing, and of course, like, expectations went completely wild. So I actually understand why they announced it and that they didn't give pre-orders yet, because usually that happens in marketing. You want to give a boiled room, let's say, so people can actually get very mad about the product that doesn't reach their expectations, and then go back to be, oh, but it's actually kind of okay, so I might get it when it's available. There's a reason why Pixel phone leak all the time. But yeah, what's particular about this headset and why it's been compared many times with the Quest 3, but is not really much of a case, we're gonna compare it with the Quest 3 anyway, is actually that this is a PCVR first and standalone second. This thing is gonna have a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 to actually run it, so it's gonna be able to play standalone games. But the particular thing is that it's based, and their conception is based on being like the successor to the Valve Index, but wireless. How are they achieving it? Well, actually with something that is very smart. They're using 3 different antennas on the headset. One is going to be Wi-Fi 7 for all your connectivity with the internet and stuff like that, because again, this is a PC. We're going to go back to it later. There's going to be a second antenna just dedicated to the controllers to have the lowest latency possible, and a third antenna, the most important one, I think, Wi-Fi 6E, that's going to work just on the 6 GHz band. That is the one that is less used around, so it's going to have less interruptions and less fight from all the other connections in your house, to bring just audio and video for the streaming connection to the PC. And that will be handled, by the way, with the dongle that's going to be included in the box, USB Type A, that you're going to just insert on your PC, and it's going to create a streaming directly, a 6 GHz connection between the headset and the PC. So imagine like an overpowered link with a more stable connection and a faster connection and better bitrate. A win-win scenario. Can this be achieved today with the headsets with the Wi-Fi 6E connection? Yes, probably. If you have a dedicated router, it will be very, very similar. But yeah, I think it was very smart from Valve to actually move this way, to actually make it like the first actual wireless PCVR with standalone capability. Also, to help with everything, is gonna use eye tracking. It has 2 cameras for the eye tracking, and they're gonna be used for foveated encoding, or what they call it now, foveated streaming. So that means that they're gonna push the bitrate as high as possible, the points where you're looking at, and just make it fall down in an exterior view. And that is something that we already saw with the Play for Dream in the SteamVR Beta Steam Link, and it works like a charm already, with much less compression than even something that I adore, like Virtual Desktop. So yeah, I'm actually very confident that this is going to be very good, also because of the kind of screens that they're going to use. But we're going to go back to that later, because we have to remember that this is a PC. So this is not going to run Android, it's going to actually run SteamOS directly. And that means that your entire SteamVR library will be there. Every single game will be there. The ability to run it will depend actually on the chipset, of course, but every game will be there. And that means that it's very important for Valve that we're going to start to buy more things on the SteamVR store than maybe on the meta one that we had on the Quest 2, Quest 3, etc. Because the same game at that point will be available on the headset, on your Steam Deck, and on your PC. all together without any restrictions or need to buy them 2 times. And to be honest, I adore this. Many times I don't know if I want a PCVR game or the standalone version of it to bring it around, and I end up buying it for every single system. Like Demio, in this case, well, you have it there. It doesn't matter where you're running it, and if you connect it to the PC via link, you can use the same game with the same saves and bring them with you. So you have all the good things about this Steam ecosystem. There's a good and the bad though. The good thing, as we said, is the entire ecosystem available to you. The bad part though is that we're going to start to see more standalone games arriving to the Steam VR platform. Good and bad, because I think when we're talking about PCVR, there is an expectation of actually quality and the graphics. Instead, like, well, PCVR will be Quest VR plus the good graphic games. And yeah, the other major thing, because we're running Linux, is actually that we have a full desktop environment, the KDE Plasma, like we have on the Steam Deck. So that means that you can open like the desktop, make mods, like use them pretty much as a PC in full VR, and that's kind of crazy. And also, a little detail that many people didn't understand, you can actually play actual PC VR games on it or flat games on it, because they actually made a conversion layer to play x86 games on ARM on Linux. It's nuts. So imagine you want to play Elite Dangerous on it. It might run like crap, but it might actually run. And that's a game that is not made for standalone. And that's very, very interesting. Again, of course, that will depend on the processor. And talking about the processor, it's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. So this is a mobile chipset. It's not the same kind of chipset that we have on all the other XR headsets, like the Pico 4 Ultra, the Galaxy XR, the Quest 3. It's not on the XR2 category, but is actually just made for a smartphone. That is actually a higher generation, so it's going to be much faster when it comes to CPU, and also like 50% faster because we go from the Adreno 740 GPU to the 750 GPU. But don't celebrate just yet, because the XR2 was created to actually handle all different streaming things like many cameras, to don't like hold down the rest of the system. Instead, this thing is made for smartphones, and it's gonna have to handle 4 cameras for the tracking, plus 4 cameras for the eye tracking, plus possible extensions in the future. So yeah, we don't really know just yet the real world scenarios about it. I did some digging about the 750 to see like how it will compare to a desktop CPU, and it seems that it lays in the middle between the GTX 1050 and the GTX 1060. If you remember from the early days, the 1060 was the bare minimum when it came to PCVR for Oculus Rift. Here we have much higher resolution, so don't expect too much when it comes to PCV games, let's say. Still though, I love the possibility. Valve itself said that porting Half-Life Alyx on it will be kind of challenging. That's why they didn't unveil anything. That is one of the most optimized games out there. So yeah. Now, another thing that is super interesting is actually the expansion port that we have in the front, because on the back, many people were complaining about the USB 2.0, but that's just a secondary port. The first port is under in the nose area, pretty much. That will be used probably for some face tracking stuff, but is much more powerful than we expect. It's a full PCIe Gen 4 connection, up to 5 gigabits per second. So that means that potentially you could even create a dock for the desktop to actually drop the frame on it, and that will connect it to the PC to actually use it like a PC with mouse and keyboard, and you detach it and you keep working in VR. I mean, it's nuts. It could even support like an external GPU. That is crazy, but probably not while playing, because it will be kind of in a way. But yeah, the possibility is there. We didn't see many expansions made for the Valve Index, so I don't know if they're gonna happen for this one. Hopefully they'll take more care of it in the future. And before we go into the bets, I actually want to talk about one of my favorite things here. They're actually the controllers. Why do I love these controllers? Well, because I think that is the best way to actually create controllers for VR. I don't know you, but I still have no idea after years and years of using it where the Y button is on the Quest controllers. Is on the right controllers, on the left controllers? Where's the B button? Is on the left, bottom left, or top right? Top right, but you get the point. The thing is, like, since the PlayStation times, we have controllers that are made all in the same way. And I think it's smart from Valve to just take the idea of the controller, split it in two and make it two controllers that you can use for VR. So if you see D-pad left, you know that it's going to be on your left controller. If you see A, B, X, and Y, you know where they're going to be because we have that kind of a assortment of controllers since the first Xbox. And it becomes like a muscle memory, so it will be much easier to actually use them in VR. And at the same time, with the ability to use PCVR games and flat games on it, well, you have a full controllers with all the input that you actually need, and even more because we have the ability to move them around. I don't know, I love them. I hope they're gonna bring them to more headsets because I wanna use those things for everything. But now, the bad, starting from the flat games. Do you really wanna play flat games on this? Let's start to talk about the screens. The screens here are disappointing. There are two LCD display, 2160 by 2160 each eye, running up to 144 Hz, that is the nice part, paired with two custom-made pancake lenses with even a glass part. That is amazing. That means that the reflections are gonna be much less inside the headset. That's exactly what we want, and they're gonna push the FOV up to 110 degrees. That is pretty much in line with every other headset on the market right now. It actually reminds me quite a lot of the Pico 4, that's why it's over here. And if you look at the lenses, they actually look very, very similar in shape. It's probably the same panel that we have over here. And being an LCD, well, don't expect the same thing when it comes to contrast or color reproduction. They're not bad screens per se. I actually made a through the lenses comparison, so you can see them already compare with the Quest 3, and they are very, very similar. With pancake lenses, things will look very good, but screen door effect will be still a factor. And yeah, I think that's where they try to actually save money to find a good price point, even if we don't have a price point for this thing just yet. Again, are those bad screens? No, the Pico 4 was my favorite headset for a very, very long time, but it will be 2026 and we have things like the Play for Dream with more than double the resolution, micro OLED displays, or the Galaxy XR, or even a Quest Pro with local dimming. It's a not decision, let's say. If you upgrade from the Valve Index, it will look much, much better, but don't expect the moon, let's say. And the other bad thing and completely unexpected is actually the cameras. There are just 4 cameras for the tracking and nothing for the pass-through. You have the pass-through through those monochrome cameras, and it's not even depth corrected. And considering what happened with the first Index with 2 cameras that were like in the right position, we're not gonna see any mixed reality on here. And it's not really the problem with mixed reality. I don't play too many mixed reality games beside Demeo. But if you wanna push the fact that you can play flat games in your VR headset, not having like the ability to actually see outside in color in a good resolution, in the stereoscopic corrected way, I don't know how many people they're actually gonna do it, also in those panels that are not the highest resolution out there. I mean, I kind of discovered this thing of playing flat games in VR with the Vision Pro and now with the Galaxy XR. With something that is just black and white things around, it will be very, very weird. And the thing about playing flat games is that you're not isolated from the rest, and here you will be. So yeah, I think that the problem over here was actually the chipset that is not made directly for XR, so we don't know how well it's gonna handle the mixed reality pass-through. But yeah, disappointing, I have to say. And then finally, talking about comfort, I think they went in the right way and then like they just like went a weird way at the same time. Right way because like the screen seems to be very, very, very close to the face, and that makes the white balance much, much better. We know that the most important thing in a VR headset is weight balance, more than even the weight itself. That's the reason why Apple actually added like weight in the back of their strap in the last version. Make everything heavier but well balanced, and you're not gonna feel it in the same way on your face. At the end of the day, we're still strapping things on our face, and that's uncomfortable to start with. But yeah, it looks quite a lot like a ski mask and something that I like a lot. And they move the battery on the back. And you will say that's for weight balance, but actually no, because they have a soft strap to do that. So you just have less weight on the front and you have some weight in the back, but not having a hard strap, that is not gonna balance anything. It's just a matter of like taking off weight from a side to the other. I'm pretty sure you're not gonna come in the future with a comfort strap, or a third party will do it. So the weight balance will get better and the comfort itself would be much better. But so far, I mean, I didn't try it yet, so we don't know for sure, but it could be much better just looking at it. But yeah, here we have it. Sorry for the long thing about it. I really want to explain everything in details about like what to expect from this headset. Overall, I am excited and also a bit like skeptical about it. I think that the thing that I'm most skeptical about is the screen. I think the wireless VR will be crazy good. At the end of the day, with the Play for Dream, I really enjoy it quite a lot. And it's hard for me to go back to wired VR, even if I have many. Yes, there's always a better quality on it, but at the screen resolution, you're not gonna notice that much if the pixels are not perfect, let's say. You notice on something like the Shift Fold, the Mega X, when compared to the Play for Dream, because the resolution is very, very high. It's on creates a kind of a software version of the display port. But on the 2160 by 2160, not sure. I just think that price point will be vital for this thing to actually have success, even if I think it's gonna have success no matter what, because we're talking about something directly on the Steam VR platform, and people are kind of like sick of meta and all their way of doing, and many people want to have just a playing device, something just to play and not to do social and stuff and being bombarded with like a weird avatar, stuff like that. When the Quest 3 exists at the price point will be a tough call, of course, but it seems like they have enough things to get ahead to justify it. Of course, if Quest 4 comes out next year, there's gonna be something else that we're gonna have to talk about. But overall, what you think about it? Did I talk too much on every single thing? Did I make everything more clear? Did I say something that has to be corrected? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like this, dislike. Subscribe to the channel for more VR tech. If you love this channel, join button on there. Don't further also the Patreon. Thanks all the Patreons for joining the channel, of course. I see you guys in the next video, and I have so many things to talk about. There's a review about the Galaxy XR incoming. I'm actually testing it. I finally got it. So yeah, interesting stuff ahead. Also some crazy smart glasses. But yeah, see you guys next video. Ciao.